This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good morning, everybody. The clock on the wall says 9 o'clock, and look at you all in your places with bright, shiny faces. Well, actually, I'm guessing on some of you who don't have your cameras on, but nevertheless, I'm confident that those faces are appropriately buffed and shiny. So good to see you. I was explaining to Alexa, I'm a little raggedy and unshaven this morning. I had a very rough night last night with my hound dog who was sick. And when you have a dog is sick, Papa does not get to sleep. So he and I both had a rough night. He's probably curled up on the couch right now, catching up, and I have plans to do a little bit of that this afternoon. Although, hallelujah, when I am done with this call, I'm rushing back home to write up an offer on a property in my neighborhood. It's going to be a full price cash offer. So I am super excited, and that's going to caffeinate me, I think, for the next few hours. So good to see everybody. Thank you for the smiles, Mandy. By the way, I'm also planning some trips today. That's I have that on the agenda as well as a catch-up nap this afternoon. And I'm hoping to book flights to Japan and St. Louis and schedule a driving vacation to Tennessee to see my father. So, hoping to squeeze all that in within about the next 8 weeks. So, things are going to get a little crazy for me, but it's been a long time since I've seen my grandkids or my dad. And I'm going to fly back to St. Louis with Mary so she can see her family. So, we're starting our summer a little bit early with lots of travel, but I'm super excited about it. All right, well, let's go around the world. Anybody can go hot mic and share with us what's going on. Tell us highlights and lowlights from your business this week, anything you're having issues or questions with. And if you want to update us on your personal travel plans or your pet's health, feel free. Okay, you're up. Velvet, I see you searching for the button. Go ahead and find it. There you go.
Well, things have turned up for me. It's like, people start thinking about, I guess, about taxes being behind them, and many of our listings are in escrow, so
Wow.
or actually getting activity, showing activity. So that is very positive. Um, in terms of things that are going on, I think that there's lots of interesting news going on in our industry. I cannot quite keep up with it all, but it seems worthy of discussion. I was on a team leaders meeting yesterday with EXP, and apparently there was a team lead in another state that got a pretty hefty fine for non-disclosure of some things. You know how some of us have interest in mortgage companies and title
Yes.
companies, and it even got down to discussion about like going to a golf tournament sponsored by a title company. That could even get us in trouble if there's like any kind of inference of like swapping business, like
Yes.
you're going to use me for this, like just staying above reproach in those areas, which am not often very mindful of, but I will be now.
Yes. Yes. Okay, good. So they scared you straight.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's always a good reminder. The title companies themselves are super nervous about that because they're regulated more than anybody else in our industry. But yeah, we can get in trouble by mixing things up a little bit too much. So thanks for that reminder and that warning. Anybody else? Okay.
Frank, I have a question for you.
Yes, Mandy.
Okay, if you could maybe help me with the situation. So we have an offer on the table. We're supposed to close on the 29th. We were supposed to, we did an amendment to extend our option period because we found some things that we wanted fixed.
Yes.
So we sent that in. They decided that they didn't want to sign it. So as you had told me before, you said always have that termination agreement ready to
Yes.
go. We had
Yes.
that. We sent it. They haven't signed either one.
Okay.
And so are we in limbo? Like where are I have never been in this situation before.
No, you're not in limbo because during the option period, the buyer has the unrestricted right to cancel the contract. And if you sent the notice of termination within the option period, that contract is terminated. It does not require seller acknowledgement or seller signature. The earnest money release is a separate issue from whether or not the contract is still valid. So that contract is canceled. If the sellers have not signed the earnest money release, you may want to direct their agent's attention to, I think it's paragraph 18, but somebody can correct me there, where the contract spells out some very stiff penalties for failure to sign the earnest money release when you are required by law to do so. And they are required by law. They end up having to pay both sides legal fees plus penalties, plus the earnest money. It's very brutal language. So you may just want to remind them of that. You don't want to play games refusing to sign an earnest money release when it's appropriate per the contract that you do so.
Okay. And he called yesterday and he said, well, your client has to take, a certain amount of money, or, my client doesn't want to do the deal. Like, he's still talking. He's like, oh, I'm going to get someone out here. He's still talking and using language. And I said, well, why don't you just extend the option period? Like, I just didn't understand. It's the weirdest. And he owns the company. Him and his dad own the company. So it's
Okay,
not
so
like.
are you
Yeah,
representing the buyer or the seller?
the buyer.
Okay, yes. Okay, very good. So the buyer has the right to terminate during the option period.
Okay.
So I would just have a very blunt conversation with them and say, if your buyer still wants to buy, you can tell him that. But if we do that, we're going to need to put this deal back together, because as of right now, it is officially terminated. And I'd let him know that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Great question. And it raises another issue that I just want to make sure you're all aware of, because I saw this just a few weeks ago on one of my contracts. A buyer's agent submitted an amendment to extend the option period and included the number of days of the extension. It was properly signed and dated. But what do you think is the one thing she forgot to put on that amendment? Anybody?
An amount to extend?
That's exactly right. She did not add any additional money. And without an additional option fee, there is no additional option period. That initial option fee paid for the original period, if all parties agree to extend, there still has to be an exchange of value in a new option fee, because it's a contract. It's an option contract. And be very careful. Just putting $1 in there is not sufficient. That is not considered an exchange of value. That's just a nominal fee. I mean, it needs to be appropriately sized to the original option fee. So, for example, if the original option fee was $500 for 10 days, that's roughly $50 a day, and you're extending for 3 days, you need an option fee of about $150. It needs to be commensurate with that original option fee and option period. Does all that make sense? So, yeah, otherwise you could have a very disappointed buyer. Velvet?
Okay, I cannot help but jumping in here because in the negotiating class a few weeks ago, your tip was to know the contract and know the
Yes.
rules of the contract. And what Mandy was just explaining to me is something that we're running into a lot, where agents are uneducated.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
the value of this class and being under your mentorship is, I don't know if we all recognize how huge it is to be learning these things, naturally and with context, because they really make us sharper and better. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Velvet. It makes me sharper too. As you ask these questions, it kind of gets the juices flowing and keeps it alive for me too. So I appreciate all of you. Okay, great question, Mandy. Great insight, Velvet. Who else has got something going on you want to share with us? Bob, Lee, Keith, Robin, Star. I'm calling you out. Anybody?
Yes, good morning.
Hi,
Um,
Star.
Hi, good morning. I'm overwhelmed. I feel like I need to get in and see you guys in person
Yes.
and really lay out my business because I feel so disorganized and it's been a lot of events happening and pendings and coming soon, and I just need to kind of get it all together here. So I'm missing that in person, that structure.
Yes. Yes. So, well, I'm actually sitting here alone in the conference room at First Cup today. I'm delighted everybody's online, but it's not. It's generally three or four of us in the room, but apparently we are all having trouble getting out and going this morning. But anyways, again, delighted to have you here, Star. Let me add, because I know Velvet mentioned this recently in a private message to me. I am happy to meet with any one of you at any time to do some personal coaching. So, Star, if you want to schedule something and we just tear your business apart and then put it back together in a way that feels better to you, we can do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And Stephanie, I think you want to jump in here.
Yeah, there are 4 people in a waiting room on another link.
How did that happen?
So
Uh,
apparently I had copied a link from last week and pasted it in today's meeting. And that's the link that everyone had a hard time getting into last week as well.
Correct. Yeah, that was. I guess I had a brain freeze. I typed the wrong link. But the right one is meet.goto.com/aspire.
The email that you sent today has the right link. So if you want to
Yes,
forward that
yes,
one.
yes, correct. Stephanie, do you know who those people are?
Let
Or
me
you
see if I can go back in and
and put in the right link? Yeah.
I'll do
La-
that.
I think of the 400 times I've sent that email, last week was the first time I mistyped it. So wouldn't you know, that's the one they go back to find us today. But regardless, hopefully we can get them in here. All right. Bob Ochterbeck, are you really there?
Yes, 'tis I am
All
here.
right, Bob. Good to have you here. Tell us what's going on with you.
Well, you probably remember, Frank, that I'm working on this program for AI for realtors.
Oh,
And
Bob, just give everybody a quick tour of that
yeah,
because
we're about to launch that. I'm going to meet one-on-one with some realtors on it, and it's more powerful than anything that's available at this
It
time.
doesn't take long. We'll get it scheduled.
okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
Been working on that, and of course, what's put me behind on that are these two
Yeah.
clients, both buyers, both headaches, both low dollar deals, and finally got one under contract. And I was so happy about that because the homes they want to look at are, of course, an hour and a half from where I live, so we're
Yes.
looking, spending miles and hours. Well, we terminated it yesterday because we could not come to terms after the inspection. So I'm hanging my head on that one. But I did close the other one, so they're behind us here. And I
Okay.
do have some really powerful prospects. I've got one that's looking for residential property and talking $800,000 and looking for mostly just land. In fact, if it can be some acreage with some of it under flood, under flood waters, that's fine. That's kind of what he's looking for. So that's if anybody knows any property like that, 10 acres plus, I'd be happy to look at it. And real quick, this other program, it's an AI program for realtors. We're going to have it roll out probably at an introductory price of $50 a month, $49.95. And then if you continue with it, it's going to be $4.99 a month. But let me tell you, it will replace a transaction coordinator. It can replace an assistant. And you just tell it what to do. And it not only does that within seconds, usually seconds, it will come back and ask you, do you want me to do this also? So obviously, I'm very excited about this program and looking forward to rolling it out very
Bob,
soon. I believe
tell us
next.
tell us the money again, Bob. How much in the entry and how
We're,
much?
we're, this is preliminary, but pretty well in ink is $49.95 for a month for introductory price. And then after either 30 days, 60 days, if you want to continue with the program and use the program, it's $4.99 a month.
For like $500 a month?
$500, yeah, $500 a month. Which
Wow.
which what it can do, you have to understand what it can do. Especially some of these agents that have a number of assistants, they have transaction coordinators. Transaction coordinator, you're spending $500 probably at least just to handle that part of the transaction. And it can do that instantly. I mean, as quickly as it will research and find the information. If it's
Okay.
out there, it'll find it.
All right, I have a suggestion, Bob. Share
Yeah.
with your friends who created this program. They need to take us all out for lobster at Landry's or Papa Do's and present this to us, and show us. Landry's
Well,
is
that, believe it or not, that is on the agenda. But I'm
okay.
going to start with a few one-on-ones because one of the problems is I still have a lot to learn on it. And
Yes.
if somebody starts asking me a lot of questions, I'm like, let me get an answer for you. And I don't like that. I want to be able to respond. But I'm going to have I've got the program in my phone, and I'd love to present it to anybody one-on-one and just show them what it can do.
Okay. Yeah, Bob and I were part of some of the initial sessions. Bob invited me into those like a year ago. And boy, they've come a long way since then. Bob's shared a couple things it'll do for me, or that'll do for any real estate agent. So yeah, Bob, we look forward to hearing more and already tasting that lobster dinner. So,
Well,
okay. Stephanie, did you want to jump back in here? Your mic is off, but you had it on a moment ago.
Yes. Sorry, I was looking at something else. I typed in the chat that I use a program called Marblism that does almost the same thing that what Bob is talking about. So that we've got a few options out there. Marblism has an executive assistant, a social media assistant, a legal assistant, someone who does lead generation, and a receptionist.
Oh gosh. Well, I just typed in Marblism and pulled it up on my screen. So I will take a look at that a little bit later after this meeting. But thank you for that recommendation. Bob, type in there maybe what your program is called as well.
Yeah.
Stephanie, how much is yours per month?
So it was $288 for the year. And then I also purchased the maximum amount of calls my receptionist could take, which is 300. And that was $150. So that's all I've paid.
150 a year or a month?
150 for the year.
Okay, plus 288 for the year. So you're still under 450 for the year.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well,
and she sounds real. I mean, you wouldn't know you're talking to an AI.
Okay. Okay. Well, that sounds exciting because we had company at home last night and we were right in the middle of LBJ. And if you haven't seen that movie, oh my goodness, it was the third time I'd seen it last night. Great movie. We were showing it to friends. And I am not kidding you when I say my phone rang and text messages came in, business calls and text messages 10 times during that movie. And a couple of times I had to excuse myself because they were urgent matters that needed attention. So I sure love the idea of a humanoid who could take those calls and go show property and write the contract. Yeah, go ahead.
I will say one more thing about the receptionist on Marblism. Whenever she has taken a call for you, you can go back to Marblism and click on her chat, and she has put in there Just giving you a heads up. I received a call from this number. If she gets the name, she puts the name in there and she tells you why they called.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. So we are just being loaded with good ideas and resources today. Appreciate all of that.
Hey, can
Anybody
I
else?
ask can I ask a question about those services for them? Like, I
Please.
often come across questions that, I'm sorry, I didn't let you answer before I started my question. Uh, like, for example, I have this high rise in Houston, and it's my first high rise ever, and noticed a discrepancy on between the square footage of my high rise and the other ones, even though I know the other ones have the same um, floor plan. Well, it turns out the balconies are included, and in high rises, the balconies matter because some balconies are larger than others. Uh, but that was, probably a 30-minute process of calling the other agents and then,
Yes.
figuring all that out. That is something those types of things that aren't easy answers are something I'm looking for help with. What do you got? What's your experience with that? Are these AI platforms able to handle those sorts of things?
Stephanie, Bob, y'all jump in on that.
I have not asked the bot about anything like that, so I'm not real sure what kind of response I would get, but I could certainly play with it. I mean, we've got someone in there that has for legal advice. I could, if you shoot me the question you want me to ask it, I'll ask it and see what it says.
I would suggest maybe you ask, in what circumstances is a balcony included in the square footage of a home?
Okay.
That would be interesting because Velvet, that is new to me. I've never heard of that. I've always understood that the square footage was the space that was air conditioned. It was, it had HVAC services. Although that itself is not a hard and fast rule because there are homes that don't have heat and air. They might have a Franklin stove in the middle of the living room like my grandparents did. So clearly there's some fuzzy edges there.
I would
Bob?
think I
Yeah, go
would
ahead.
think that balconies would be excluded like a garage is excluded.
Yes.
Garages under roof, in most cases, of course, and it is square footage, and but we do not include it. It's only, like you said, typically it's air conditioned space. So I myself would exclude that. But I think what
So
Velvet is asking is, does an AI program,
that's right.
discern that? Can you ask it, why is there a discrepancy? And it identifies things like that. It's only able to do what it has access to, the data it has access to. One thing about our program, and probably Stephanie's too, is it's a learning program. The more you work with it, the more it knows you, understands you, knows what you're looking for. It can be proactive in what it does, and that's another powerful thing of the program is what it can do for you. Like I said, my program, and I haven't worked with it near enough to know what all it does, but I know you can ask it for information or to take care of something. It will take care of it if it's able to, and then it will come back with a question. Do you want me to go deeper? Do you, this has been revealed. Do you want me to research that or whatever? So it's very, very proactive in that regard.
So we have a question from the room. Robin, ask that so Bob can hear you.
I have to do, I'm getting some calls from my clients to do property tax
Protests.
and help them with that. I wonder if, because I pay for the big chat GPT, but I wonder if AI can do something like that and make it a lot faster, maybe even more accurate.
Bob or Stephanie, do you know if it would help with a tax protest, perhaps to go out there and find comps or improvements that would justify a reduction?
I do not know.
Okay.
I've got a response from this bot, and to the question that I asked, I typed in what circumstances a balcony included in the square foot of a home. At first, she gave me the general rule when it comes to homes like you primarily because she knows what kind of homes I've sold.
Mhm.
And then she's got a commercial exception. And so I typed, what about high rise? She said, high rise condos are where things get a little grayer. Interior versus rentable square footage, or she has one that says, check the condo declaration. In Texas, the ultimate authority for a specific high rise is the condo declaration. This legal document defines exactly what is part of the unit.
That's a very sharp answer,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe as good as it gets.
And then she goes on to say, if you're listing a high-rise condo, check the appraisal district, check the floor plan, and be careful. If you include the balcony and the total square foot on the MLS, always disclose it.
Yes, that is wise. She's
Mhm.
smart.
Yeah, so just to affirm that, that is the answer that we got after spending our precious time trying to figure it out. It was to go back to the HOA documents and see what they qualify as the square footage for the unit. So nice.
There we go.
I've been
Smart
happy with
people
them.
using smart tools. Yesterday, I'll tell you this chat GPT is changing everything. I had this brilliant idea because I'm doing a little bit of stock market investing for the first time since I was in college. And I thought I'm going to pull up at all 500 companies that make up the S&P 500. And I'm going to chart their average volatility, daily volatility over a 6-month basis. And I'm like, man, this is going to be a major project, but the results could be life-changing. So I'm going to do it. And then this light bulb went off. I wonder if I could just ask ChatGPT. And I did. And I said, of the S&P 500 companies, which ones have the highest daily volatility? And do you know, it gave me the top 15 companies, and then it started segmenting them by industry within the S&P 500, whether it's technology or medical or retail. It was
Well, actually,
incredible.
I did that with gold and silver.
Yes.
And then it came back and said, do you want me to track gold and silver prices?
Yes.
And alert you when it takes a dive.
Yes.
So about every other day, I get a notice from chat saying,
Yes.
the price of silver has dropped this much, and this is where you can buy it at that price.
Yes.
And stay away from this company, and just unbelievable.
Yeah, it did something similar to me. Once it answered my question, it said, would you like me to give you a daily report on stock volatility, on who the top 10 or 15 are every day? Just crazy stuff. So anyways, it's a brave new world. Bob, your mic is on, and Stephanie, did y'all want to add thoughts to that? Okay. All right.
I'll have more information in the coming days.
Okay, sounds good. Well, let's shift gears here because I want to spend a few minutes on our topic for the day. I got an email this week from Viral Marketing. Some of y'all may be familiar with that name. I was a client of theirs years ago and have stayed in touch with them and continue to follow them, even though I'm no longer a client. But what they do, their big reason for existence is to help agents stay in touch with their database and maximize the value of those relationships. And by the way, if you're going to look them up, it's VYRAL. That's how they spell viral. But I mean, I'm going back to my Remax days. So now we're talking 15 plus years ago. I considered the founder of Viral one of the smartest two guys in the real estate industry. And then he started his own company and I became a client. And he is brilliant. And his ideas will make you money. But he was saying in this email that he had gotten an inquiry from a new client saying, what is the best thing that I can do to jumpstart my business right now? Because things are kind of flat, things are kind of slow. What can I do to get right now business? And if you know, Frank Klesich is the guy who's founded Viral. If you know anything about him, you would anticipate his answer, which was reconnect with your database. Reconnect with people who already know you, like you, trust you, or have some connection to you, even if the relationship is not strong. And then he walked through the process that he instructed this new client agent to use. And I wanted to just run a little bit of that past you to get the juices flowing. The first thing he did was ask, how many people, local sphere of influence people, do you have in your database? These are people who live in the market area where you want to sell homes. Now, if that was to me, it would be the entire Houston metro area, because yes, I will drive to Clear Lake to sell a home. I'm kind of embarrassed to say that, but I will, I'll drive just about anywhere for a $12,000 paycheck. So even though I do half my business in my neighborhood, I'll still drive. So how many people are in your database? So I want you, if you're taking notes, write down that number. In your database means that you've got their name and in some way to contact them, at least a phone number, hopefully a phone number, an email address, and a physical address. Those are the three key pieces of contact information. But if you've got at least one of those, and I would even say if they're a social media contact, you have a means of contacting. How many people are there like that in your world? Okay. And by the way, just to make sure you're playing, what kind of numbers have you come up with right there? How many people in your local sphere of influence? Robin, you're here in the room with me now. How many have you got?
Oh,
Approximately.
well, in my database at 5,000.
5,000 in her database. Are those people that you have some connection to?
They get an email every week.
Okay, but do you
Newsletter.
know them from church, school, neighborhood,
No.
past? Okay.
No,
How-
I would say, without just let me guess, it would say maybe 75.
Okay, 75. That's a good number, because we're not just talking about buying a list or some mass geo list that you get from Remine or something. People that you have some organic connection with. 75 is a good number. Who else has got a number for us? Anybody beat 75?
I've got about 200, between 250 and 300.
Okay, that's a very robust list. And that telling me that you have that many, Bob, tells me that you have put some work in on that. And I know that you have. You've been working on that for many months.
Well,
All right.
23 years in business, and at my age, I've met a lot of people. And so I
Okay.
want to get that Frank would always call it the trifecta.
Yes, that's right.
Email address, phone number, name. Make sure you have that information.
Yeah, once you got their name, their phone number, their email address, and their physical mailing address. So, all right, so we have our baseline number. Now, how many contacts do you have in your telephone? How many total contacts do you have there? That's, if I just type in Ralph in my phone, I have like a whole page of Ralphs. It's incredible the number of contacts I have in my phone. So I'm not quite sure, but I would make a guess about my phone, and I should have looked that up. I would think I have well over 1,000 contacts. Okay. But put that gross number in there. I realize some of those may live in the Philippines, but just put the big number there. Now, the next question is, how many Facebook friends do you have? And don't try to sort it by local or overlapping. How many total Facebook? That's a number that you can see at the top of the page. And I started a new Facebook page about 3 years ago, and I'm already up to almost 5,000. So put that number in there. And then for those of you who are hip to the scene and you're on Instagram or one of those young people things, Snapadoodle and all those things, how many followers, contacts, social media friends do you have other than your Facebook? Put that number in there. Okay, we're not done. I'm going to give you one more. How many families live in your neighborhood? How many families are in your neighborhood? Because even if you don't know them, there is an organic connection there, right? You walk your dog on the same street, send your kids to the same schools, go and fuss at the same HOA meetings. So there is a connection there. And if you market your neighborhood, they've seen your signs, they know your name. And I do have one more. How many past clients and customers do you have? How many people have you done business with? And you can go back over your entire career for that. Because if you sold somebody a house, chances are they don't remember your name unless you've been consistently marketing to them. But if you reach out to them and remind them who you are and how you know them, they would remember you then. Okay? So if you have that list complete and you add up those numbers, you're probably going to have many thousands. Would you agree? Just in your phone, just in your Facebook contacts, your Instagram followers. Some of y'all are social media influencers. Who knows how many you have? Okay. Now look at that list, look at that total, and then you're just going to make a guesstimate right now because we're just doing it rough and dirty right here. How many of those either don't live within your market area or are duplicates? Because you may have them in your phone and in your Facebook and your Spotify and who knows how many different places. So make some reduction for out of town and duplicates. Again, we're just doing guesstimates right now. You can take the time, and Bob will tell you it takes a lot of time to actually do the hard work here. Okay, who's got a number that you would share with us? This is a no judgment zone. Just throw it out there. If I laugh at you, it won't be personal. Okay. I'm kidding. Okay, 700. I see that hand. 2,000. Okay, 3,500. Okay, you want to get that number, and there's a couple things that you're going to want to do because this is all about getting right now business through reconnecting with your database. And I should say databases, multiple databases. If you've got a couple thousand people on that list, and I suspect most of you have at least a couple thousand, then you would probably agree with me that you have not been in touch with the vast majority of them in terms of a real estate outreach. You've not reminded them of the business that you're in and of your willingness to share your time and expertise with them recently. I'm just saying that on the basis of knowing lots of agents and knowing myself and knowing how we work. Okay. So you've got your number. We're recognizing, here's the mental shift, that there's money on the table. Those people have grown accustomed to living in homes, but we've not done a great job of staying in touch with them. What do we do to extract right now business from them? Well, first thing is you need to gather complete contact information if you can. So if all you have is a social media contact, I would shoot them a message and I'd say, hey, Deidre, it's been a while since we connected and I discovered I don't have your phone in my cell phone. I don't have your phone number. Would you mind sharing that with me again? Or I don't have your email address. Be careful about your over asking. Just figure out what you want to do. With a phone number, you can call and text. With an email, you can send a message. Get whatever you think is going to be most important to you. And the phone number might be most important because most people, the statistics show that vastly more people read text messages than read email messages. Okay, so a phone number would be the second most important. Okay, try to get a phone number through whatever means. And if all you have is an email address, then email them and say, hey, I've got your email address and we're Facebook friends, but I don't have your phone number. So try to get that information. Then, and this is the most important thing, and this was Frank Klesich's nugget that he shared with the agent. You want to send a reconnection letter. And I have seen him in the past refer this to this as an apology letter to those people, particularly the ones that you're not in regular contact with in regard to real estate. Some of these people, you might see them every day, but you have not offered to assist them with their real estate needs. And so this is widely applicable to just about everybody on that 2,000 plus number of people there. So what you're going to do is you're going to write a note. And it's just going to say, and I haven't written it, so I'm just spitballing here, but it's something along the lines of, Dear Charles, hey, I just want to start out by apologizing to you. I've had my real estate license now for 12 years, and I've helped over that time dozens and dozens of families in our area. But it's been a long time since I have offered to assist you with your real estate needs. Please accept my apology. I want you to know that I do this full time as a professional, and I take continuing education hours every year, and I stay current on market values and technology and the legal issues that impact the sale of a home. We know that in America, the average family moves every 5 to 7 years. So there's a very good chance that your family is thinking about moving this year. Or you may be considering buying investment property. With the craziness in the world and the ups and downs in the stock markets, you know, for most of history, people have found real estate to be a rock solid investment that you can actually go stand on and put your hands on. I track great investment properties as a normal part of my business. So if you're interested in investing in raw land, single family homes, small apartment complexes, I would be so happy to pull a current list and share it with you. And since you've taken the time to read this far, let me just catch you up a little bit on my family. And now talk about your family a little bit and what's going on and where you're planning on going on vacation. Frank Klesich made the point, and I believe this to be true. I've seen this to be true. More is better in your apology reconnect letter. Longer is better than shorter. This is very similar to that letter from the heart that I've taught for many years that you should send out annually to your database. So you're going to talk about business and how you can help them, the things you can do for them, then talk about your family, and then come back at the end with something with a powerful emotional appeal. So Charles, thank you so much for reading this far through my apology letter. I just want to say in closing that I got into this business because, frankly, of a tragic situation I had where I was trying to buy a home and I had incompetent representation. I lost my $6,000 earnest money deposit, which was the biggest amount of savings my wife and I had ever accumulated. And I didn't want that to ever happen to anybody else. So I've spent 12 years now in the trenches helping people make the most of their money in the biggest financial investment most of us ever make in our life. And I just want you to know that I would be honored to help you. Even if you just have a question about your home's value or any changes in the laws or having trouble with your HOA, or if you want to protest your tax valuation, please reach out to me. Let me be a resource for anything related to your real estate needs. Okay. So now we've gone on. We've got 2 or 3 pages here. And I believe that works because my letter from the heart works, which is really that same kind of thing without the apology. But if you'll gather this list, get some form of direct contact information, phone or email, or direct mail. You can mail this to their home if you want to. If you will do that, you will generate right now business, because we know out of every 100 families, 15 are going to move this year. And the majority of those are going to be local moves. So we're really probably talking more like 22 to 25 moves opportunities for you to participate for every 100 people in your database. So if you got 2,000, oh my goodness. I mean, you know, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of opportunities to do business. So this message is going to catch some of them the right time. Now you'll get some unsubscribes if you send it by email. You may even get a little juicy return comment if you send it by text. Take me off, don't ever blah, blah, blah. That's part of the business. That's part of the rent we pay to be in this business and have the freedom and the financial opportunities it provides. So you can't let the possibility of that or the reality of it put you off from reconnecting. So if your business needs a jump start, I'm going to give you the same advice that Frank gave to that agent. Gather your database, clean it up, send an apology / reconnect long letter, and then see what happens. Our time is up, but I just want to ask real quickly, has anybody done something like that before?
I did one similar, but not as lengthy.
Yeah.
But asking for their birth date.
Okay, Robin
to be
sent
able
one
to
asking
send
for
out
their
a
birthday.
thank you,
Yes.
You know,
So
on
that,
their birthday.
so
And I wanted to start something new in my business. So
Yes.
that was, you know, for my top clients, sending them a gift certificate for.
Okay. Let me share that with them because I don't think they heard that. So what Robin said is she's done something similar, but of a short nature, asking for people's birth dates so that she can recognize them and say happy birthday once a year. That's a gateway drug to what I'm talking about. That's a starter step. That's great. Stephanie?
I didn't have anything.
Oh, you just turned your microphone on and fooled me. Okay. All right. Well, I would encourage all of you all to give some consideration to that because, again, our job, you can sum up our job this simple, is to talk to people about real estate. And the more people we talk to about real estate, the more real estate transactions we're going to have. So my encouragement to you is initiate the conversation. Get the conversation started, and not just with a few people, with the masses of everybody that you have some organic connection to, that you can get their contact information. Okay?
I've had people actually call me by mistake recently, or
Yes.
people that I need to connect with for whatever reason. We just had an event or something, and I immediately bring up real estate. I haven't done that. And
Good.
I realize that now, and I'm trying to make it a consistent thing where I'm literally putting myself in front of them, because it's amazing how many people are looking. And I never really thought about that. I thought it was like an isolated, job, but it isn't. It's a service that a lot of people need. It's almost like a medical service sometimes.
It is.
Everybody needs it.
And I've told the story 100 times, but some of y'all probably not heard it, that my mother was a top producing real estate agent in Houston years before I even moved here. And she sold a home to the manager of the Kentucky Fried Chicken just because she walked in, was ordering her lunch, and pulled out a card and said, "Hey, I'm a real estate agent. If you ever need help finding a home, I can help." And he said, "Well, as a matter of fact, I just moved here. We're looking for a house." And she sold him a house. So that's our job. Talk to people about real estate. And my challenge to you is start the conversations. Okay? All right, guys. Well, I need to scooch home and write up a cash full price offer for my buyers. And I'm going to meet with them here in just a little bit. So I appreciate having you guys here. Call me anytime that I can help. Eventually, it might be a bot that answers, but either way, I'll get back to you soon. Okay. God bless. Take care.
Thanks, Frank.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Have your signs in